Good morning. We begin with a Texas case going before the Supreme Court on Tuesday. Minority influence and representation, both at the center of it. Justices will decide if Texas lawmakers gerrymander districts to dilute the clout of blacks and Hispanics. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is our guest this morning, talking about that and a number of issues arising out of his office right now. And joining the questioning, as always, is Bud Kennedy of the Star-Telegram. Thanks for coming in.
Morning, General.
Morning. Let's start out with the redistricting case. Lower courts have been clear that the maps have to be redrawn. Where you start from has kind of been the issue. Do you not expect that same ruling from the Supreme Court?
No, I don't. We appealed directly from a district court where we did not file. The plaintiffs filed in this district court, so we weren't shocked by the result. And we appealed directly to the U.S. Supreme Court, and we got a stay on what the district court had done, a 5-4 decision in our favor. And you'll have to remember, these are maps we've operated under with no problem since 2013. Over and over, we've had statewide elections, we've had local elections, and we've operated perfectly fine with no evidence of any problems or discrimination. And this is a map that was drawn by a 3-judge panel, and it went back to this 3-judge panel. And that 3-judge panel decided that the map that they drew was unlawful. So now we are defending, the legislature adopted that map. We're defending the map that they drew.
General Paxton, will the state's argument change at all in D.C.?
No, it'll be the same argument. This was a map that we worked with this 3-judge panel to draw. They drew it. We adopted it, and it's been operating fine in the state of Texas for literally, years and years and years. And there's no reason to overrule it now as we're getting close to redistricting again.
I want to switch off to the border as well. National Guard going down there. It's been widely reported about that. Is it time for, well, I guess the first question is, are you satisfied the federal response is now up to par to keep the border safe?
It's certainly in the right direction. We've never had this kind of response from a president. As you probably are aware, we have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on border security in Texas to shore up the border as best we can. The problem is the federal government has a lot more authority than we do to take action down there. There's a lot of things we can't do. So it has been refreshing and very helpful that we have a president that's very interested in this issue and that's actually doing something about it.
With the Guard going, though, now, is it time for the state to spend that $1 million a week elsewhere?
We'll have to see. We'll have to see how effective it is, but it's certainly, eventually, I think we're moving in that direction. If we get some type of wall, it doesn't have to be across the entire border. If we get some more border agents, if we get more help, we get more technology on the border, then ultimately I think we can pull back once we see the effects.
Last week, both Greg Abbott and Lupe Valdez he said and she agreed that if she's elected governor, she would eviscerate the sanctuary city law. Both of them used that word. What was your take on that? And gosh, is Lupe Valdez really the biggest concern Republicans have at this point?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we don't know yet who's going to be running for governor on that side, but clearly that's an issue that the legislature cared about. It's certainly an issue the governor cared about. It's certainly one that we've defended well, and as you know, we've been successful in defending that at the Fifth Circuit. Very simple law that really just requires that elected officials turn over to federal officials illegals who have committed crimes. I really have never understood why any city would want to prevent illegals who are criminals from being deported.
And I want to ask you about the arrest and shutdown of Backpage.com recently. It's been heralded as a great success for your office, but Children at Risk out of Houston had this study showing that there are 689 massage parlors where online reviews cite illicit activity going on, 200 of them locally. I mean, is trafficking moving from online to our own neighborhoods, and is that more dangerous?
Look, what we're trying to do is partly send a message that if you're doing these types of things with children and others, we're going to come after you. And so all we know is that 73% of the crimes or the causes of action reported to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children came off of Backpage.com, were related to Backpage.com. So we targeted where we thought the most damage was occurring. And we just started this unit a little over 2 years ago, and we quickly moved into arresting the CEO. We did it after about 8 months, and now he's pled guilty, and we're going after others.
Let's talk about Dreamers in Texas, the people brought here illegally as children. You sent a letter threatening to sue President Trump and his administration if it didn't rescind the Obama policy. Congress isn't taking action. Will your office follow through in a lawsuit and actually sue the Trump administration over this?
So right now we're looking at how we do that. We're looking at involving other states. So I would say it's very likely we're going to take some action in the future.
What do you expect? A lawsuit against them?
Yeah, I mean that would be
rescind this.
They don't give me any other resources in the legislature other than lawyers. So I use lawyers. We go to court. So that's the likely result of our action.
End of the year? What do you expect?
I don't have a time frame. I can just say it's likely coming.
There were investigators interviews in Tarrant County about a vote harvesting investigation. We kept hearing we'd hear something by December, we'd hear something by February. We never have heard anything. What's coming from your office?
So investigations are ongoing. I don't comment on the details. I'll just say that that is continuing. Sometimes things are slower than we anticipate because they might be a little larger and bigger scale than we anticipated. So I can say that we are continuing to work on those cases, and you'll likely see something coming soon.
General Paxton, your own legal battle has yet to go to trial. Do you expect that it will?
Have no idea. They moved it out of Collin County for, in my opinion, no apparent reason to Harris County, and it's just stuck there, and I don't anticipate going to trial anytime soon.
When do you think there might be a resolution?
I have pushed for a resolution over and over. I've been going through this for 3 years. I've asked for a resolution, and so far no resolution has come.
I'm curious also, based on your, completing your first term in office, what would you like to see the legislature address next session when they reconvene in January?
Well, I mean, as a taxpayer, I'd love to see property tax reform. I think that's something that's long overdue. A lot of our senior citizens on fixed income are being forced out of their homes because they can't afford property taxes. From my standpoint, we also need to do a lot with criminal justice reform. I don't think that our state has addressed many of the issues that relate to grand juries and how people are treated in the criminal justice system. So there's plenty to do in the legislature, and it's going to be an interesting session with a different speaker, and our current lieutenant governor having the opportunity now maybe to get some of the things that they've tried to do in the past through the House.
You spent time in the House. Who might that speaker be in the final moments?
That is a great question. Even when I was in the House, I typically didn't know until we got to the final days because, it's a constantly evolving situation, and it depends on who's running as to how it affects other people in the race. So, currently you might have 3 people in the race. I think by the end you could have 10. So, as each person gets in, it changes the dynamic of how that race is going to turn out.
Sounds good. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, thanks for coming in.
Great to be here. Thank you.